Russian missiles hit President Volodymyr Zelensky's hometown Monday, killing at least 6 people. It comes after Moscow blamed Ukraine for 3 drone attacks in Russia in just 1 week. CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio has the latest.
Russia's twin missile attacks on Kryvyi Rih are personal for Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. This is his hometown. A smoldering hole where apartments used to be, a university complex hit, more than 75 wounded, several of them children. Possible retaliation for the fear over Moscow 1 day earlier. Before dawn Sunday, Russian forces say they downed 3 drones targeting the capital. 2 tore off the facades of skyscrapers in the glitzy business district. It was like a wave. Everyone jumped. There was a lot of smoke, and you couldn't see anything. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said war is returning to the territory of Russia, as Ukraine's military also drives south in an apparent priority to cut off Russia's access to Crimea. A nearly 100-mile push from the southern frontline town of Orikhiv to the Sea of Azov that includes the Russian-occupied city of Melitopol. Ivan Fedorov is that city's mayor in exile.
Melitopol, it's a gate to Crimea. Now it's one of the main military city and military base of Russians.
What do you want Americans to know about what's happening here?
Millions of Ukrainians stay on the border of Ukraine. Not because they want to stay on the border of Ukraine, because their houses occupied.
The mayor did admit to us Ukraine's offensive is moving slowly but very deliberately and towards the city. And as far as he's concerned, it's not a matter of if, but when it will be liberated from Russian occupation. John.
Ramy Inocencio in Dnipro, Ukraine. Thank you. For more on this, we are joined now by George Beebe. He's Director of Grand Strategy at the Quincy Institute, a foreign policy think tank. He's also former Director of Russia Analysis for the CIA. Picking up on where Ramy left off, how significant would it be if Ukraine takes back Melitopol?
Well, I think it would be enormously significant. The Ukrainian strategy now for quite some time in this war has been to try to sever the land bridge that Russia managed to capture that links Russian Federation territory proper with the Crimean Peninsula. And if they were able to capture Melitopol, that would certainly compromise Russia's ability to resupply its forces on Crimea. That would put Russia in a very grave strategic situation. Right now, though, it doesn't look like the Ukrainians are making much progress in that effort. This counteroffensive has been underway for almost 2 months. And I think by everyone's admission, it is struggling.
And it's not just a matter of taking the territory, but then you have to hold it. Should we think of that differently or in a particular way as in the way this conflict has gone on?
Well, yes, I think capturing the territory is one thing, holding on to it and securing it over the longer term is another. And I think the Ukrainians at this point really have their hands full even trying to make progress against quite formidable Russian defensive fortifications that they have erected over the past several months.
And George, what do you make of this? And do you see it as an escalation? I mean, these recent drone attacks, according to Moscow, inside Russia, and Zelensky's claim that attacks within Russia are inevitable. How do you read that?
Well, I think this is indeed an escalation. I think both sides are reacting to some changes on the battlefield. I think the Ukrainians are increasingly trying to strike inside Russia, well behind Russia's front lines in Ukraine, as an alternative to this counteroffensive, because the counteroffensive has been struggling. So how do you bring Russia to the negotiating table if you can't sever that land bridge to Crimea? Well, you try to increase the price that Putin is paying at home, demonstrating to the Russian people that Russian territory is vulnerable, and hopefully inspiring some sort of opposition movement to Putin inside Russia. The Russians, of course, are not sitting passively in the face of this. They're also escalating their attacks on Ukraine. So we are seeing an escalatory phase in the war right now.
So then as a final question, Does it escalate and then plateau, or, escalation is not good? And what do you think of the underlying theory behind the Ukrainian incursions into Moscow? Is there any chance that their theory of the case would work, or is that not the way things are right now in Moscow?
Well, right now, it doesn't look like the attacks on Russia itself are having the kind of effect that the Ukrainians would hope. I think to some degree, it is reinforcing in Russians' minds that this is a serious war, and that they're facing Western technology, NATO technology, American military weaponry. And that, to some degree, is creating a rally around the flag effect. Incidentally, that's exactly the same kind of effect that Russian attacks on Ukrainian territory and infrastructure and civilian targets are having in Ukraine. Rather than undermining support for the war in Ukraine, it's in fact galvanizing support to defend Ukraine against Russia.
George Beebe, Director of Grand Strategy at the Quincy Institute. Thank you so much, George.
You're welcome.